So we're currently waiting for maps to find out what we're playing on, which this shot once again is trying to bait me, as it always is. Hey, no, there we go. So let's find out what we have here. Towers and the Tomb are the ones that are banned out. First map is going to be Infernal Shrines. Once again, it sort of wasn't picked a huge amount at the start, and has immediately jumped up in the second half of the season.
Yeah, teams in China are slowly catching up in terms of Infernal Shrines. I think they realized that, especially as an opening map, this game, or this battleground, is just so well designed. I mean, it's not as snowbally as maps like Brex's Holdout. It's not as unforgiving if you fall behind early. Sky Temple in that regard can also be mentioned. Like, once you get ahead, you just need to make sure that you have at least one temple, and you will always maintain that lead in terms of structures. But in Infernal Shrines, the Punishers can be defended very easily. You can also go for a split soaking or soaking strategy if you can make it for the first Punisher Shrine. So it's really nice to see, Thatcher, how diverse this map can be played.
Could not agree more. Now, before we just quickly jump into draft, I said I would tell a little bit of a story due to my phone attempting to default to Bing Translate earlier. So, quite simply, Merryday tweeted out quite a long tweet. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm curious. Let's Google Translate this and see what it does. Apparently, my phone defaults on Twitter to Bing Translate. What follows is the power of Bing Translate from Merryday's tweet in English. Coming out of the ground every now and then, to you in the UK sounds like something to eat, and picked up again for no reason. Especially annoyed recently per ... recent rumours, and I sounds a lot like a fac. Reflection ought to buy sweet Najataya Junshan frowns fives.
Beautiful. I didn't know that Merryday was reading a lot of Shakespeare. I was going to say exactly.
Poetry in motion from the support of MVP Black.
And during all of this, I could not make out the original message's purpose, so there was no way I could guess what Merryday was trying to say, right?
Even with the translation, I am no closer to even any clue as to what that message was originally supposed to say. Just no idea. Thanks, Bing. Did it again.
Thanks for nothing, basically. All right, guys. Let's dive into this first draft between ESTAR, the current #1 seed here in China, against the pursuers, CE, currently ranked 2nd. So this is basically the top match. We couldn't have asked for a better one to start with. And we see a Ragnaros band coming in on the side of CE. Doesn't really surprise me that much, because despite his nerfs, Ragnaros still remains quite the lethal force on this map. Mostly because of his Molten Core trait, which is so good at peeling and zoning enemies away from the shrine areas.
If you can get up to about 20 skeletons on the shrine and then drop Molten Core, you're fairly guaranteed to get it, just with the huge amount of AoE that you can do. We were seeing Sonya being hovered over. Now it is Illidan who is being considered. ESTAR clearly have done their homework to the drafting style of CE, and there we go. Illidan is removed. That gives Sonya or maybe Gul'dan over as a first pick to CE, but Gul'dan once again a bit more of a Western pick.
Yeah, and we basically touched upon this very briefly earlier, how much CE likes to run their Illidan, how much China in general likes to run their Illidans. So this is just a very Chinese ban here coming up from ESTAR, but also a little bit of a respect and target ban for CE, because they have been so successful running those Illidan comms, those very aggressive comms.
So just quickly, you can also see, I believe, with that Sonya that we are currently on the Heroes 2.0 patch.
Yes.
I believe that skin being one of the new ones that was released with that Super Sonya. But immediately to counter into it, despite his nerfs, we're still seeing him played in some form or another. It is Tassadar returning into the draft for ESTAR.
And this just makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people weren't really excited about Tassadar anymore in his current form and shape. The shields obviously got nerfed a little bit, only a 4-second duration instead of a 5-second duration now, whereas his auto attacks got buffed. So you have, a little bit of a nerf going down, but as well you have some of his other weaknesses being buffed, like his weak tickling beam. Now, keep in mind that Tassadar still fits into the playstyle of ESTAR in general. They want to make Xingzi shine. They want to rely on their most successful assassin player. So picking the Vala into Tassadar right off the get-go really speaks a clear language of what they're trying to do.
Yes, it does. They could still even pick up the Oriel, assuming it is not stolen away or banned out. Stitches coming in again as a second pick for CE, and the Wolverine Karazim, which looks incredible, coming in as well.
the manliest skin of them all, as I like to call it. It's just...
God, that facial hair.
Man, I wish I had facial hair growth like that. I mean, that beard is just killing it. Hugh Jackman in Heroes of the Storm, beautiful. Now,
if we ever force Dunk Train to shave, can we force him to do this design before he gets rid of it all?
I couldn't think of a better person to go for that style. I love it. Now, something that is also very, very cool to observe and to keep in mind, since we're playing on the live patch, there has been a major Uther rework, which means new talents, new builds, and most importantly, new mechanics on his trait Devotion. Every heal that hits an ally is now going to cause armor being applied to them, and it's not just, you know, like 5 armor or 10 armor, it's 25 armor for every target that gets hit by his W, the Q. He has a self heal now applied to his Q as well, so he's always going to give himself a little bit of armor as well. So I can't wait to see what teams are making of this. Tetra, do you have any opinions on the new Uther? How much do you like or dislike him?
Really good. Very much depends on the build. Like, in theory, he actually does have one of the strongest cleanses in the game. In fact, you can get it down to, I think, 20 seconds if you play well enough. But it is a very strong new hero. I definitely see he fits into the top supports, but he's not one of, like, the top 3 supports right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's basically stronger than he used to be, but can he rival the likes of Malfurion, Lucio, Oriel even, remains to be seen. But in very situational circumstances, like the enemy team going for a lot of burst damage in particular, I think he now shines more than ever. So against heroes like, I would say, Ragnaros, Li Ming, like all of those guys who can chunk down huge portions of HP in a very quick time frame, he could become a viable option.
So a lot of people's, well, we haven't really talked about this for starters, Dibbles coming out, Diablo coming in for ESTAR, currently with a 0% win rate in HGC China, with a 3.5% pick rate. This is his best map. He does do decent AoE damage on the Shrine, can get good value, and in theory has a very good percentage damage talent later on when he can tackle people into walls, which is quite likely to happen, especially if Stitches hooks him. CE finishing off with Sylvanas coming in, and a Lunara. That will probably be for Zing C, and ESTAR finishing up. Oh, sorry, no, wrong team. Yeah, but either way, ESTAR finishing up with Lucio. So Zing C on that Valor, clearly.
Man, and China falls back into their old patterns of ignoring Arthas, ignoring Anubarak. Apparently, like all those top-tier warriors that are so famous and popular in Europe and NA right now, they just don't care about them. And especially Arthas. Like you mentioned, Diablo being so strong in Infernal Shrines. So is Arthas, though. And to pick a Diablo over an Arthas here is quite outstanding, especially if you're used to watching Western teams. So already, China promises to, once again, enchant us with their own charm, their own way of approaching the meta, and this is so cool. And Stitches, by the way, as you can see, we touched upon this last week, but he has a very own skin, a very China-exclusive skin, because they don't like to show bones and blood and organs and gore, basically.
Indeed. It is just the way that their culture works in general, which is cool to see. So, overall, both teams, we have a Stitches hook comp with the follow-up damage being the Lunara, which is going to be good. Would they go Leaping Strike just to get the extra slow in for after the hook?
I would assume so. Like, even if you get a good target, you basically want to nail them down and burst them down as quickly as possible. And I think Leaping Strike makes a lot of sense. On the flip side, you could say that maybe if Lunara wants to play a little bit safer against the likes of Diablo, who could very well charge at her, she might go for the Thornwood Vines. But I think Leaping Strike has become the go-to in most games.
I would agree with that. But yeah, like you said, the Diablo is still just quite interesting when Arthas is so popular nowadays, and that would have still been fine. Like
especially with Lucio. Like if they wanted to go Lucio, why not go Arthas as well? It makes it even harder for the enemy team to run away and escape his frozen Tempest. So crazy, man.
So the Sylvanas is also very interesting. There is sort of one field of thought around the way Sylvanas should be played on this map, and that is play if you think you're going to win. Because if you're winning with Sylvanas on this map, you win even harder. If you're not, it becomes almost impossible to come back. But ladies and gentlemen, Welcome to map number 1 of our best of 5 series in HGC China. The emotes were on the board, but spawning on the left-hand side, it is ESTAR, with Valor played by ZigC, Diablo played by H, we have Lucio played by SW770, Tazadar played by Tiger, and Dehaka played by X.
Their opponents currently ranked 2nd behind ESTAR. They're here to take their crown. We have a Lufu playing the Karazim, Wind on Stitches, Sanjian on that Lunara, Paradise. Watch this guy, he's good at the Sonya, and Suyu, equally awesome on the Sylvanas. Very interesting to see that lineup because they have a lot of damage over time, which is kind of sometimes counterproductive, I might want to say, because you need burst damage to kill someone after the hook, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Karazim go for that 7-sided because it's been this infamous combo of just hooking someone in, following up with a nice 7-sided to melt that target down for a very long time.
Yep, Stitches has a pretty crazy win rate right now, already landing a hook. Tassadar being forced to dimensional shift to get out of there. And Stitches, by the way, going with a full slam build, which is the standard on this map, and pretty much most of the maps that we are seeing Stitches played on these days.
And I think it's totally fine to go for that route, because let's face it, ESTAR doesn't have any major source of magic damage. Like, they don't have a KT or a Li Ning or something along those lines. They rely on Vala, and guess what? Dampen Magic doesn't really do too much against her, unless she goes for some crazy Hungering Arrow build, maybe. But as you said, like, the slam build right now is so good, can even be run as a solo tank. We saw Dignitas in Europe really perfecting this strategy to the max, and so really nice way to see Stitches here in this game. Now, I wanted to mention something real quick. I'm not sure, like, once again, how much damage they're going to have. I think CE is going to rely on snowballing like crazy without Sylvanas. We know how strong her building trait or her Black Arrow trait can be against buildings. Once you get those first 2 punishers and you really deactivate a couple of towers and structures, you can snowball ahead like crazy. On the flip side, though, this is the biggest risk of their lineup as well. If they don't get those strong early game moves here, I think they could really struggle to catch up.
They really could. They could struggle to catch up if they don't try and get this kind of early game snipes or continue up with the soak. Right now, Sonya's still dueling up in the top lane against Diablo, and in theory, this should be a thing that Sonya should have no trouble winning, but she seems to be playing a little bit safe, as you can tell by Diablo's health bar up at the top.
Let's see, Sonya is a little bit late to the party, so is Sylvanas. ESTAR is already grouping and sieging up here very nicely. They get a nice lead also in Skeletons, and you can't afford to arrive that late, because sooner or later, the team that has a 10 or 20 Skulls lead is going to drive and get that super easily. Now, H coming in with a big flank, though.
Doing huge damage to Olivu. Down goes the Karazim there. Sonya attempting to spin to freedom, but gets taken out. Crazy aggression by ESTAR to start off with, completely isolating Karazim, who did what all Karazims seem to do these days, and that's play very aggressive. ESTAR, though, on point, able to punish that with the good Diablo engage.
Yeah, keep in mind that, especially in the early game, there's not that much healing going on for CE. With a Karazim solo support, they really need to rely on their self-healing capabilities, especially the Sonya and the Stitches, and they also need to play a little bit more cautiously because they don't have the likes of Tassadar or even a secondary main support to really take care of them. Which is very interesting to see, by the way, that CE relies on that triple damage, if you will, against that double support coming in from ESTAR. They have a Sonya, a Lunara, and a Sylvanas, but that is not a lot of burst damage, which you really need, because I think the damage over time coming from those 2 ranged assassins and specialists can be easily counter-healed and shielded by Tassadar and Lucio, I feel. So already ESTAR taking a commanding lead, almost 1 entire level ahead of their opponents right now.
Yeah, and this is the issue due to the fact that CE have Sylvanas. They're already on the back foot, and Sylvanas' damage output, at least until she gets barb shots, isn't going to be very efficient in terms of killing off that Punisher. She's going to have to play very defensive. They do take it down relatively quickly, though, thanks to the 4-man defense, but they still have to move back in because the fort is not safe yet. It's still under pressure. Lucio and Vala kiting away, dealing a lot of damage to that.
Yeah, and watch Xingxi's moves here on the Vala. He's constantly shielded, constantly protected by the Lucio as well. He just keeps on attacking like there was no tomorrow. And the only thing he really needs to pay attention to when having that double support behind his back is to dodge the Stitches hooks. Because otherwise, I don't think he's ever going to be killed in the near future. Because as you said, Tetcher, Sylvanas always comes with a big gamble and a big risk as well. True, she does have the snowballing potential, but she doesn't add a whole lot pre-level 10, pre-level 7 even. So early game team fights will naturally feel a little bit more clunky, a little bit less threatening to the enemy team, so CE kind of fell for this trap. And look at H going all the way deep into the enemy Mercamp zone.
Alufal trying to do something for this camp, but he has to escape onto Zoo Paradise, able to whirlwind himself to freedom. But once again, another kill going over to ESTAR, and they get the camp. Currently, 4 kills to 0, and a full level lead in favor of ESTAR.
Yeah, look at that Dehaka build. We've seen a crazy amount of talent diversities and varieties over here in China. We don't see Symbiosis at level 7. We see the Essence talent instead. And Tetrick, you talked about this a lot during the last broadcast. What is your take on talents here in Dehaka? And also, Lucio, look at that. We see the Boombox coming in.
Not to mention, Boombox is a bit more of a strange one. It does allow Lucio to basically get into lane and just drop the healing on the objective. So he can soak, etc. Decent on a map like this, where you've got to stay near your team, but you also want to keep them healthy, and you also want to soak XP. There's so many different things to do. But overall, the Dehaka talent at level 7 here is very much a defensive talent. Otherwise, you're going for the extra vulnerables, which means you intend to be engaging a lot more and don't think you're going to get killed off instantly. This one basically means you get more healing from a full essence burst, which is a lot more efficient. Also, lightning breath coming in for Diablo. Goodbye, Lucio. That is the first kill that CE have been able to get on the board.
Yeah, Lufil really showing his class there. Going in when it was safe to do so, Lucio was not able to keep himself alive anymore there. Tassadar also. You can really see that the lower duration on his shields allows for a lot more plays on the enemy side, because you can now use a bigger time window while the shield is on cooldown. So H now feeling the pain, but just tickles him for a bit.
Yeah, please tell me I didn't just see H use a full lightning breath cooldown to clear a single minion wave, right?
I think
Did I just see that?
I mean, it's a low cooldown, and you just want to roast some minions every now and then. Just can't resist the urge, I guess.
So I'm leaving now. I'm breaking my own neck.
No, it is really, really true. We saw H just used his heroic ability, his lightning breath on an entire minion wave, and that really speaks a clear language. They were expecting to get this next shrine phase easy peasy lemon squeezy. They weren't banking on H really using his heroic ability there, because SCE was not in position. They prioritized laning because they wanted to get 10 themselves, so I guess it was all calculated, because they knew we're not going to use it during the next shrine phase, right? Might as well just roast a couple of minions.
A zone here, just dropping the lightning breath and the strafe in the push here. They're completely guaranteeing the 4. Able to take that down, and well, this is unusual but working. So who are we? Wait, that's mind control.
China, what are you doing to us in this very first game? It's too early for this.
China, yay! More small mind control, lightning breath. Welcome to China. These are our 2 top teams, Kendrick.
These are the top 2 teams. It's like Liquid against Fnatic. It's like Temple Storm against who's actually currently 2nd place in NA.
I have no idea.
I have no idea, but they're all like, let's say Team 8.
I pay more attention
to they're still good, right?
America than I do to the main.
Oh my, this is so crazy already. Like, imagine those crazy heroic abilities to come out in the Western scene. People would go nuts in Twitch chat, and I'm pretty sure a couple of people are still very excited about the mind control here. But
people are bringing up a good point. It is no cleanse. This could be decent. Isolating the Lucio or something like that could be devastating if they're able to do so. So imagine a hook into mind control. You could basically bring someone across like 2 screens worth of distance.
I mean, okay, so here's the thing. We have Future Bell, we have the mind control. Now, in an ideal world, Stitches goes in like crazy. He slows everything and everyone in his path. And Sylvanas is definitely going to try to control her target into that Future Bell, so even while the effect wears off, it's still going to be massively slowed. I'm not sure if it's going to come to fruition this way, but there are a couple of targets that could really be susceptible to this kind of strategy, especially Lucio. Like, his movement speed boost wouldn't really help him anymore. The Vala, Xingxi...
disadvantage, because the movement speed boost would still be affected, will still be in effect while Microphone is active.
Very true. So it makes it even easier to get Lucio in your reach as CE. So a very interesting approach here, a very interesting theory crafting, but is it going to work once the team battle or the team fight commences? It remains to be seen. Now we see a big drag coming out from X here, but he can't go for the defense here because there's too many enemies around him. Now they're trading forwards, bottom against... Oh, we see it!
Mind control was attempted, but denied by the Burrow. X will be well-winded, though, and taken out. So the kill is achieved, and mind control only goes onto a short cooldown.
I was going to say,
not even gold cooldown at all.
Yeah, that is something I have never seen before, because I never play mind control, and we never see it in competitive. So there we go, no 10-second cooldown even. It got right back at you, and... Okay, so CE seems to be dominating the Shrine phase, but they take this at a heavy cost here if they don't start defending. ESTAR is going for a push
down, but they're still looking really good.
They have a
right now,
advantage
Wind is on the solo defense. Alufal is in position. He does not have that 7-sided, so we don't see the usual combo. Zuyu in with the mind control. The speed is bringing him in, but Diablo coming in for the defense. The sound barrier has dropped, but you still see Lucio die. Zuyu barely escaping. Diablo actually goes back. Oh my god, Zuyu. He still escapes. He lives through this. In comes Paradise, chasing down Zing C. H gets Force Walled. Hook gets shielded and the Force Wall to protect him. He's able to escape. He's dropped so low. If anyone gets the AoE. And Kara's even able to get the kill now, and it's Tassadar with Dimensional Shift trying to escape via the round side, but Lunara has found him. That Force Wall is whiffed. Tassadar goes down, and CE catching up at XP. They're still a level behind, though.
I was going to say, keep in mind that CE didn't even finish the Punisher, so this is really, really good for them right now, because if they finish, which Sonya is trying to do now with her Whirlwind, they can actually capitalize on Tassadar still being dead for a couple of seconds. So right now, they're actually playing this super smart. They're using Sylvanas' Black Arrow trait here to really get some value done before the Punisher gets unlocked. You can actually see them waiting at 39 skulls out of 40. So they're really trying to maximize their value, because they want to get that level 16. If they push while being a talent down, they might have some trouble really enforcing objectives, right? But if they wait just this tiny little amount longer, then they can fight on even footing, and this is looking all of a sudden like really, really good for CE. Their creative play has been awarded heavily.
So we saw in that fight a little bit earlier the disadvantage of the mind control build here, and that is the fact that you sort of just stand still and Diablo just cues you. That is the slight issue. Also, nice move by X here, putting some pressure on, trying to cause some duress to that keep. But he's against a Sylvanas here, and Sylvanas, when you're winning, you win harder. And right now, they are on the aggression. The keep is disabled. Sylvanas dealing with that. Punisher still over half health. Dahaka will probably be forced to be here. Doesn't look like he is, though.
No, he doesn't.
Looks like he's still continuing with the assault. Punisher trying to get some damage onto H, but he's able to drag over to the mind control. The mind control dragging them in. But Valor able to vault backwards, keeping herself alive. But H is dropping very low here. But so are the members of CE. They have to pull back a little bit. Punisher has moved onto the core, though. Are CE going for the end? No, they're finally going to give this up. They were far too low. Hey, Dahaka, what are you doing here? Here comes the leaping strike. Dahaka able to escape with the burrow.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a tricky situation for ESTAR. I mean, they clearly tried to get some value out of top, but with the Punisher at CE's side and mind control and hooks, like, they really had to be on their tippy toes to defend this, right? And Dahaka, there was no brushes nearby where he could immediately drop to a big hook coming in on Sing C.
Beautiful play there by Stitches. Wind with the moves there. Now it is Tassadar on retreat. Wind will spot him. Good slam. That's actually enough damage. Lufal just for the guarantee coming in with the attack, and that's with 2 heroes dead. CE are looking for the end, Kendrick.
Oh my goodness. The core player, the key player for this ESTAR is not alive. Sing C still dead for 25 seconds. Tassadar is not here to shield the core. They are trying to go for this Tetcher. They got another one.
And he didn't have 100 souls, so Diablo's dead. That's gonna be it. That is GG. And CE taking game number 1 with a Stitches mind control combo. What a play by CE. They are chuffed. And right now, once again, for the 2nd week in a row, ESTAR begin a series off on the lower foot.
Very good point to bring up here. They lost their first game last week against X Team as well, but then they just basically activated tryhard mode and they looked as dominant as ever. But CE playing one of the most creative and innovative comps I have seen in professional Heroes of the Storm for a very long time. They busted out the Stitches, they busted out the mind control Sylvanas, and they made it work like a charm.